So today I wanted to walk you guys through the process of making a video. Maybe these will end up being tips that some of you guys can use if you're doing YouTube or content creation, just because there's a couple things that I've learned over the years that, I don't know, kind of speed up the process. So first of all, what type of video am I doing for the day? That's the big question that I always ask, whether I'm recording a random little indie game or I'm recording a Trove video. Trove is a little bit more complicated for me because if I'm not doing a live stream, it means that I have to come up with some type of a new idea or concept for a video, whether it be just overhauling an older tutorial or whatever. So I'll hop in the game, record and do what I'm doing, and then we'll move on to the editing process. This is also a good time to mention that I do use NVIDIA Shadowplay. I don't know what it's called anymore. But I use it so that I can save a replay clip of the last 45 seconds of what happened. And that's really useful for me because sometimes I either don't have my recording software open or I just need to have a quick little clip. In the event of, a Trove video, if I'm doing like an event video and I need to have like a clip of me killing a specific monster in the event, I can just record a 45-second clip by pressing a hotkey on my keyboard rather than having to open up OBS and record myself fighting it kind of thing. You can set up OBS to capture a replay, but then that requires you to have OBS open 24/7, which I don't do. Now, a couple other things to keep in mind is that with OBS, you can actually program it in to press a hotkey and then it'll add an event marker into a text document. That's really useful if you're doing like a really, really long video or a live stream where it's a little trickier to kind of pick apart like which parts you're going to edit out. So before we actually import the video, I would suggest renaming the file. So in my case, I already know that this video is going to take multiple clips and multiple short recording sessions. So what I'm doing is I'm renaming this file to video making start. And then I know every clip following thereafter is going to be involved with the video making video. And then finally, when I get the last clip recorded, I'll call it end. Just so that I know, because I do so much bulk recording of multiple different games at the same time, I have to have them all labeled out in a proper way that I can identify immediately. So the first thing that you're gonna probably notice is all these different audio tracks. I'm gonna unlink them just so I can go through these with you. So the top track is my mic and then the Elgato Wave software, which basically encompasses everything outside of my mic. So it's my computer sounds, my game sounds, my Discord, all at once. So usually I can just use this one clip if I need to, but I'm a creature of habit. And when it comes to editing, I like having options. So I'll delete that. And then this track is my mic. This is the background noise of whatever video game I'm playing. This would be Discord, but Discord isn't running. This is the Elgato track on its own. And then finally, the last track is when I'm recording VR games, I use a different mic, and this would be the VR mic. Having the game audio separate also means that for this video in particular, I don't need the Trove audio. So I'll probably just remove this clip entirely and instead just put some background music on. So here's a couple things to keep in mind with my editing. I'll go dead silent at spots to know where I'm going to end up making a cut. I'll also clap in the recorded footage, as you can see right here. And that means that all of this right here is basically scrapped footage because I just re-recorded it better and more refined. So next step would be thumbnails. So in the case of making a thumbnail for Trove, it's actually really easy because there are a lot of assets that I already have custom for this game. But usually what I'll do is I'll end up going over here to Bowser the Sky Whale because this is where I have my blue and green screen. And thankfully Trove has these crazy glowing blocks. I'm going to show you an example of a game that isn't Trove, but just let you know that it requires a lot more brute force to get assets for these games. So this is where the program paint.net comes into play. This is a free program. And again, this is just for the in-game asset. So I would end up basically cutting here. And then I know that the green in Trove isn't good enough for me to use for the editing. Like it's not all the same color. You can see it's a little brighter here just because of the glow around my character. So I'll usually end up trying to paint it and just try to get something that's a nice blend between like making the entire background like nice and green without it dominating too much of the character model. But sometimes there will be little moments like this where I have to go in manually and just kind of draw it out. I'm not too picky about what I draw out because so long as the image is clean enough, it doesn't really matter. And there you go. So that's a nice clean plate of the image, but what about upscaling it? How do I end up making it bigger than it is? That's where HitPaw Photo Enhancer comes in. So there's all sorts of AI upscaling and probably ones that are better than this program. But the main reason why I use this is because I can use it on my computer, like as an actual installed software, versus almost everything else AI related is going to end up being online. Now, this is an AI upscaler, which means that it being AI means it can mess up a lot. And I'll show you guys an example of that later. But in Trove's case, I'll just denoise the model, let the program do its thing, hope it doesn't crash, because it often does when it gets to 100%. And now you can see I have a much higher resolution version of the same picture. So this is the AI upscaled one, which you can see, you know, certain edges are a little bit warped or whatever, but it doesn't matter. You don't notice it in the thumbnail. As a comparison though, this is how big the older image was. So now here's where things get a bit weird, because I actually use Adobe Premiere to make my thumbnails. For example, you know, here's our little shadow hunter. Let's give it a little bit of a background. So we'll add a blur. We'll add a little bit of a color filter just to make it a little more obvious. We'll add a key out to the background, and then there we go. We've already got the shadow hunter. So all I would need to do is just add some text, put the title to the Trove logo, and now we got that side of the thumbnail ready. So what's next is getting a faceplate of myself. So in most cases, I'll actually just refer to my big folder that already has hundreds of images of myself that I can easily end up using in any thumbnail. But let me walk you through the whole process if I need a new image. So I'll basically just kind of go through the clip of the video, and I'm looking for a face pose that I'm happy with. So this one kind of works. It should work as a thumbnail, but I know that I'm gonna run into some issues when I use the AI upscaling, but we'll get into that. So what we'll do is we'll take a screenshot from Adobe of the video file, and then I'll shrink it down to just a face shot. And then I'll go to Photoscissors.com. You can see I already made a thumbnail earlier today. And then I will end up uploading the image, and you can see that it will automatically try its best to cut out the background. But okay, cool. Now we have that as an image. So I'll just end up adding a green screen of the same color that I used in the Trove video. And then I'll kind of go through this, touching it up, just erasing the edges. In this case, I don't have a good shot of the full hand, so I'll just draw it out entirely because no one's gonna notice. I do notice that there's a little bit of transparency though, so I'm gonna duplicate the layer a couple times and then just put those on top of each other. This way there's no more transparency, but you can see now the rough artifacts that I have to get rid of. And yeah, I basically just go through this kind of touching it up and making sure that the photo looks okay. I also know because this is a lower res version, like a picture of myself, you can see, maybe it doesn't show up in the video properly, but it's pretty pixelated. So once again, we'll throw this into the HitPaw program, but I'm gonna end up doing two versions of it. I'm gonna use the denoise model and the face model, and I'll show you why. Here's the first denoise, which you can see is a lot more obvious that it's just AI upscaling because it kind of just gets rid of the noise. And I mean, from further away, like I still look fine. I still look, you know, smoother for sure, but generally speaking, it looks fine. Only when you start going in, you start noticing like, what the hell is this? What did it do to my teeth? What's it doing to my nose? What happened to my eyes and stuff? And so this is the face AI upscaling, which you can see there's a lot more definition down here and on my teeth and everything like that. But unfortunately, because my eyeliner tattoo, I guess the AI only thinks women wear eyeliner. And so it always gives me these girly eyes. But yeah, then I just end up adding it into the thumbnail. And I mean, yeah, it's still a little blurry and I'm gonna have to definitely touch the raw picture up a little bit. But generally speaking, it works for a thumbnail. It's fine. Maybe I want to add a little bit of pizzazz to the thumbnail. So I'll get like the anime lines and add it in as a little bit of a blur. And then I want to accentuate the shadow hunter a bit more. So I'll put like a fire behind him, but I'm not 100% confident with the color. So I'll kind of just do a shift of that into, I don't know if like green looks good, maybe just blue, same color as the background, but it just gives it that little extra pop. Brighten up my face a little bit, and then there you go. That's a pretty good thumbnail, I think. Now, if we're making a thumbnail on a different game, that's where things become a little bit more complicated, because I could either just take this image and I would zoom it in to kind of cover up the HUD, and then I would change all of the brightness settings and so on and so forth in Adobe, or I could try to systematically just chop this dude out all by myself. I don't do that very often just because the workflow, it takes a little too long. And it also depends on the game, because sometimes you get stuff like Genshin where it's a really, really clean plate. And usually I could just take something like this, throw it through the Photoscissors, and it'll do a decent enough job. And then I only got to do a little bit of cleanup. Or in the case of Elden Ring, it'll be really tedious because there's all this crap on the HUD and a lot of the background just blends together. So I know that this is a dragon, but most AI software would not. Overall though, that's pretty much everything that ends up going into my videos. Obviously the process is fairly streamlined for me right now, but a lot of this stuff is kind of weird, and a lot of this stuff I could probably do better. But at the same time, I just don't care. I'm very, very happy with where things are at with the channel right now. Regardless of the views, I'm always just about pushing myself, and I'm just very, very content with my style of editing and just my thumbnails and everything. So I hope that you ended up enjoying this video. And if you did, smash like, sub for more, buy the merch you want to support the channel. You can also click on this video right here. It's going to end up being the video that YouTube thinks you'd be interested in, or you can click this one right here, which is my most recent upload. I gotta awkwardly sit here for a minute just to let these lie.